Hello, everybody, and welcome to Automated. My name is Cody, and this is a podcast that I started last weekend. Yeah, I really did start it last weekend, and I think that that's pretty funny. But let's just get right into it. A couple announcements. Now this thing is available on Spotify, and I'm stoked about that. That's like the coolest thing that I've ever seen as my name on the app that I listen to music from all the time. I don't know, there was just something about getting all that uploaded and looking at it and being like, wow, cool. And then we're going to be available on YouTube soon. I think that the second episode, so this one, I might upload to YouTube, which I don't know. YouTube videos with just audio are weird to me for some reason. But yeah, this episode is titled What Makes My House Smart? And that first answer to that question is you do. You make your house smart, my friend. So, kind of going to get into some of the details a little deeper than we did last episode, and probably going to try to talk about some intense stuff. Not too intense, but basically, I just want to get into kind of like the nitty gritty of what's going on, so you kind of have an understanding about like what kind of stuff is happening when you're using this stuff. Because I don't know, if you know, then it might make you a little bit happier about how you use your smart house. So yeah, what makes my house smart? Building a network of control devices that are connected to the internet. That's what it is. Yeah, that totally just sounded like I read a sentence out of a book, because I kind of did. But yeah, when you put all these devices together, they're able to communicate with each other from the control hubs like we talked about last episode, and then all the devices that we're plugging into everything. Everything is pretty much just a network of stuff that becomes useful once it's all tied together. You know, as you get a plug in a box, it's a $10 plug, then like what's the plug without the control device? What is the control device with nothing to control, you know? It's a pretty interesting world with the amount of stuff. So when you can tie it all together into one network and make it smart and call it smart, I think that that's pretty amazing. Each device basically has a relationship with its manufacturer's computer system, which sounds creepy, but it's not too crazy. You have to think about the fact that there's hundreds and thousands of devices with each manufacturer. They're moving data constantly every time that you're using that. I don't think that, okay, I can't say that guaranteed, but I don't think that there's anybody that's just paying attention to the data of you turning your lights on and off. So there's nothing to worry about when you think about the companies that are recording this data when you're doing that kind of thing. But that's what's going on between the device and the company that makes it. Is there's commands that are getting sent back and forth. It's all computer code, and there's variables recorded in there, and all of it means something. We're not going to get into that because that's not our job to get into that. We don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. Like if you were building a smart house 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you were using, like the common computer to facilitate that kind of thing, you'd have to get into some programming and coding and stuff like that, and JavaScript and Python and all sorts of crazy stuff that, that doesn't mean anything to the people that I'm trying to talk about this kind of stuff to. So each device from the time that you buy it and plug it in and you log your account in, it basically creates a database on your account, and you can go in and look at the history of everything that you've done, just like your search history. Pretty much anything you do on the internet, there's going to be a search history or a history that's recorded. So you have a database, and pretty much the bottom line of that database, the bottom line of that database is the current condition that your device is going to be in. So if you send an off command, there's a line in that database. It makes one more row on the bottom. It's basically like, when I say database, you can think of a Excel spreadsheet. That's basically what a database looks like when you're looking at the control screen of it, and it just like that, it's data placed out in columns and rows, and each row is just a new interaction. Now, this isn't guaranteed that that's exactly, like, I don't know that's exactly what it's looking like, but that's what the concept of this is, and that's basically what's going on. I use databases a lot at work and everything, and the bottom row, when you're updating like the status of something, the bottom row is always the one that I'm always looking at. That could be different with other people's situations and stuff like that. So between all of the devices, there's a lot of communication that can go between one type of device to another type of device. And when I keep saying devices, I'm kind of referring to what we were talking about last episode: the plugs, the control action items. That's what I'm talking about, is action items, stuff that can turn lights on and off for you. The plugs, the bulbs, the doorknob, the Ring doorbell, cameras, stuff like that. These are all the devices that I'm referring to when I'm saying devices. But all of those can communicate to each other, which they can do. Most of them can do, but primarily the way that I would set my smart house up, and I don't want to lose anybody and get too crazy here when I'm start saying that all these devices can control each other. Just because they can doesn't necessarily mean that we need to use them that way when we start programming everything to the way that we want our smart house to work. So each device, when you get it, you make your account, you get your new database, and that individual device has that database that we were talking about. And when you add another one, so say you buy 2 plugs, so you're going to turn a lamp on and off, two different lamps. So the first one that you get together, that's one database or set of information with like a status, and it receives a command. And then the other one has another database. So for each product in your house that's connected to Wi-Fi, there's going to be a database of information for that device. So that's just something. I'm not trying to explain this to everybody to so that you know that while you're building your smart house. This is just kind of like a curiosity thing. I know that nobody truly cares about how the products are communicating with each other, but I know that there's definitely some curiosity about how it's working, and like this form of, sorcery from the internet that we've been given. I just kind of want to explain it a little bit so it doesn't seem like sorcery. So it's like, oh, this is just information moving back and forth across the internet, and devices that are designed to convert that information to actions. So where are we at with this? Conducted through. See, this is the fun part. I like this. Like, the first podcast, I was kind of uncomfortable with it a little bit because it was the very first time. And I'm getting a little more comfortable with it now, and I'm assuming we're going to get even more comfortable with it as we move on. So, yeah. To keep going, what else can we say about that? I'm just trying to make sure that I don't start saying some silly stuff that confuses somebody and makes me want to re-record this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so device to device, and let's even talk about hub to device. We talked about hubs; those are the control. Let's define an easy way to think about this. We were talking about hubs by Amazon, Google, Samsung, and Apple on the first episode, and let's think about hubs as control consoles. So those are the main devices that are sending control commands. And command is just information. So that's how we're going to think about hubs. Now devices, let's think about those as action items. So those are things that are actually doing something inside of your house. Your control hub is just sitting on a table somewhere. It's sitting on the counter in the kitchen, and you can look at it, you can swipe across the screen, or if you have an Echo Dot, you can talk to it, you can control it, or you can have it send out the control commands to your devices. So I know that might be a little complicated, but let's just stick with that. Hubs, control consoles, devices, action items. All right. So now one thing, this is something that's kind of important to me to kind of describe it, because it's going to be super important as all these devices start to age, because weird things could happen depending on a business's status. Because here's the thing. Amazon makes the control hub that we're putting in our house, or Google or Apple, whatever. They are the manufacturers of these products, and they've opened up ways that other devices can communicate with these hubs, and then the other way around from the devices to the hubs. So they're both, if we think of them about both hubs and devices as separate businesses, then that might make this a little easier, because, well, that's really what it is. It's a different business making a different product. So one thing that you have to keep in mind, and as you're going through your smart house and adding stuff to it and thinking about a new brand to start buying, you have to remember that each manufacturer has to maintain a business relationship with another device that you're syncing together. So as we start getting into the future, the ability to transfer data and information is going to become more valuable the more and more and more that data and information gets transferred. And the value on data transferred now is pretty low. Like, all we do is pay so much money for internet a month, and then we can just transmit data back and forth. But that doesn't say that just because you have an internet connection doesn't mean that that Amazon, to the company that's making your smart bulb, there's a business relationship between those two, because they have to agree on terms to get both of their products to the point where they can communicate with each other over the internet. Because it's not just like a magical thing that's happening. That kind of stuff is happening because there's a team with let's go with Ring. Amazon actually bought Ring, the company that makes the doorbells, so Amazon owns Ring now, and all of Ring's computer data transactions are done mostly over the Amazon Web Service servers, which, yes, Amazon owns. I don't know if they own the most. I don't know if they're ahead of Google. I thought that they were. Google might be first. I'm not sure. Amazon provides computing services for hundreds of manufacturers. Most of the Internet of Things manufacturers are using Amazon servers to do their processing. So when I say that your device, the manufacturer of your device is communicating to the device, that manufacturer's server is Amazon's server. I know that that's super complex and complicated, but that's just like the world that Amazon's built for themselves and all of the other manufacturers of devices. So for Ring and Amazon, Ring had to set up a path for that information to travel on from the device that you bought to the Amazon Web Service. So they had to program that, and then Amazon, with the Alexa platform, there's a developers platform that the makers of the Ring product, and this is as an example, there was probably a more intense relationship between Ring and Amazon. But from the manufacturer Ring, they have to meet certain parameters to have their device controllable by an Amazon hub. So all within that, there's like a business, there's a transaction of data involved, and that's set up by a partnership between those two companies. So if we look at something like Ring and Apple, there is no partnership between Ring and Apple. The only thing that there is an iOS app that you can download on your phone or on your iPad, and then there's a Mac desktop software that you can access the Ring devices on your desktop computer. But you can't do the cool things like you can if you have like an Echo Fire or the Amazon Cube Alexa something or other that you plug into your TV. That has a Ring app that you can download, and then you can stream your Ring devices to your TV. And you can do it simply by saying, "Hey, Amazon, show me my front door," or "show me whatever door or whatever Ring camera that you want to see." And it listens to the command, shows you the video stream, and you're good to go. So there's a relationship between those two that really benefits the end user experience. So you can kind of tell, there's certain other relationships all over the industry between like Apple and Ring. Let's think of a couple others. Like Google bought Nest cameras, so now Google owns Nest. So Nest cameras don't really work with Amazon products. There's not a partnership between Nest and Amazon, simply because Google owns Nest and Google has the primary, like the best experience for Nest products since they own Nest now. It's weird how it all pretty much plays out. It's a big, thick, hot mess of companies buying other companies to bring more capital to that product and make that product more popular. And each of the big four companies, they all want to be the biggest company, so they're always acquiring new products to make part of their team, basically. And usually when they acquire those manufacturers and product stuff, they probably hire on some of the team members that used to work for that manufacturer when they buy them out. I don't really know how all that goes down, but that's pretty much what happens. Like Google bought Nest, I don't know if it was a little more than a year ago, and I had a Nest device, and it had a little bit. I'm trying to remember. I was able to get on my phone and be like, "Hey Siri, show me whatever." I just hit Siri. What's up, Siri? So I'd be able to interact with some Nest products, and then Google bought Nest, and those interactions kind of started disappearing with Apple products, and the app on the iOS pretty much got to the point where it was like just kind of boring. All you got to do is look at the camera, and it's like, I kind of want to get a better camera that works with my Apple stuff now because I have an Apple ecosystem when it comes to my phone and my laptop and everything. So all of that to be said, I don't want to keep going into more examples because I'm going to lose somebody eventually, and I hope that I've not lost anybody already. But the relationship between your products is super important to know about, and I hope that as I go on, I'll be able to tell you what those relationships look like between Apple, Amazon, Google, and whatever other products we're talking about. Obviously, if you built a house and you want to put a Google controller, Amazon, and Apple and Samsung all together, like, you're going to have a super weird time getting it all tied together because it's really not designed to be like that. It's pretty much designed for you to be completely committed to one brand or one company, and you buy all the products that work with that, which that's kind of a weird world because then like I have a half Amazon, half Apple world, and I don't know which one to buy for, Right now, Amazon is a little further ahead on the control hub than Apple is, in my opinion, and I just kind of want to stick with the Amazon stuff. But that's not saying that as Apple gets further into the smart home world with the HomeKit setup and all that stuff, that's not to say that's about to get way better when it comes to the end user's experience. So it's one of those things you just kind of have to pay attention to what's happening as you're buying the products and when you're making a decision on what type of product you want to get. But yeah, all that to be said, there's relationships between businesses, and they create these data paths for the information to travel on from your device to the computer servers. And once that path is open, now we can start controlling stuff with our network of devices and the hub. So the hub, I kind of want to get into how I use my system altogether. Just because it's one of those things where if you don't set it up right, then it's just going to be a bad experience, you know? So here's how I do it. I get all my devices all set up. If I completely tore my whole system out and reinstalled it, this is what I would do. I would install all of my devices, get the apps that are used to sync the devices to my phone, and then once they're synced to my phone, I would tie all of those separate accounts from those different apps to my Amazon Alexa app. And then once that relationship is formed, now I can control all of those devices from just my Amazon Hub or Google Nest Hub. With the hub as your main control unit, as the primary source of where your control commands or your action commands are coming from, that's the best way to do it, is to set up all your routines. We'll get into routines some other day because that's a whole nother world. Routines, triggers by specific conditions, scheduled commands that go through and tell your devices what to do. That's how I have mine set up. All of the control for all of my devices comes from the one hub. Now you can have each device control another device if it has that capability. And the app on your phone, you would know it really easily if you go to the app on your phone and go to the connect my account page or something on whatever app you're on, and you can connect those accounts to other accounts or other apps, and you can control certain devices from device to device. I don't do that at all. I run all of the control for all of my products through my hub, because then it's one app on my phone. All I do is log on, and I can go through there and I can see every single device from one app. I can turn them all on from one app, just with a remote on my phone, basically. And then from there, it can be you could basically put in all sorts of different routines and stuff that are scheduled to your schedule, and they're synced up with the way that you want to live your life. And that is the one app concept. Everything is just controlled from the hub. And then the joy of that is as you walk into your house one day and you're wow, that I set a timer on that, and I said to wait 2 minutes. The door closes, and 2 minutes later, I want the bathroom light to turn on. Well, maybe you come in one day and you're you know what? I need that light to turn on 30 seconds earlier. And this is a crazy, I don't have that in my house, actually. So don't think that. But that's what you would do, is you'd go in there and you would go specifically to that one routine, and you would say, I want this to happen 30 seconds earlier or 30 seconds later, whatever. Change whatever you need to change. And it's all done in that one app. And you can affect multiple devices from your hub's main app on your phone. So for me, I use the Amazon app, the Amazon Alexa app. I'm driving people crazy, man. It's impossible to not say Alexa on this podcast. That's going to be the most intense thing in the history of the world. Could you imagine if I sat here and if everybody made a routine? What if everybody that listens to this podcast made a routine on their Amazon device that was called party mode? So you could say the trigger word and then say party mode, and then that would trigger a certain routine. So you could make party mode and then turn all the lights in your living room to change colors and change to the beat of the music, and then we could play some party music. So could you imagine that if I was just here and I was Alexa party mode, and then everybody's in party mode all together. I guess that would only happen if it was live and everybody's listening at the same time. Huh. Thoughts with Cody. So anyways, I'm going to look on my phone and see how many apps that I have, because that's something that I feel like is important. I'm going to go through each app from the very left screen and all the way down into the folders. On my main screen, I have August, which is a lock. And what's this one? Ring for the front door. And then we also have a couple cameras at work. So that's super cool. I have the same app that I can get notifications on for work and home. And then Internet of Things. It's a whole folder. What is this? Nest for the thermostat. Smart Life for all sorts of different plugs and lamps. And Smart Life actually has quite a few different devices on that app. Harmony is for my TV. The Harmony, it's by Logitech. It's a device that basically mimics a remote, but instead of it being a remote, it's just a little computer chip connected to the internet that's moving information. And whenever it gets a certain command, it'll send whatever like remote IR signals that it has to do, just like your remote does, to the TV and any other devices. So basically one device you can turn on your whole TV system, which is like I moved into this house a year ago, and I had this when I moved in, and I couldn't even imagine what life would be like living in this house, trying to, like, man, I sound like such a young person. I can't even imagine what life would be like if I had to turn on my TV, you know? You know what it would be like? It would be fine. That's exactly what it would be. So Harmony controls the TV. Wemo, I have a couple plugs. Wemo is by Belkin. Belkin makes like wireless internet products and stuff. They're kind of like staying back behind the bushes with everyone. Everybody else is kind of just doing their thing, and Wemo is like their side project. It seems like I don't really hear a lot about it. Then of course the Amazon app, which is where I control most of my stuff and reprogram my routines and pay attention to what's going on with that. IFT, which is spelt IFTTT. And it stands for if this then that, which is a pretty common like concept when it comes to computer programming. Basically it means if this is true, then do that. So that's an app. That's a really interesting app that I would recommend anybody that wants to get into something kind of fun and experimental to go see what IFT does for them. Basically, you can control all sorts of different devices in some pretty like weird ways, and you can tie a lot of different things together with IFT. If this then that, you can tie a lot of stuff together. So, for example, something that I do, and I mean, this is like next level, almost creepy, but it's saved me so many times when I've been like, man, like where was I? Or when did I get there that day or whatever? So you can have IFT trigger certain actions by location, by time, by temperature, by weather conditions, sunset, sundown, stuff like that. You can get all sorts of like online commands to trigger specific things. So one of the things that I do is every time I get to a new location, it adds a new event in a specific calendar and tells me when I entered or exited a specific location, which, I mean, yeah, it's totally kind of weird, but if you knew how often your location was tracked without GPS on the internet, you'd be like, whoa, I'm more afraid of that than I am of IFT or whatever. So IFT is an app I have on here. I don't want to get too far into IFT, or however anybody else decides to say IFT. The next app is Sonos. That's my whole home audio setup, which I only have one speaker on so far, which is my main home theater speaker. Um, it's pretty cool. I'll talk about Sonos someday on here. I like Sonos. If you want to hook yourself up with some Sonos speakers, click that Sonos button on the website. Casa. Casa is by TP-Link. Casa makes light bulbs, plugs, all the typical things that most of the internet product, I keep saying internet products when I'm referring to those companies. Companies that have been making wireless routers. The Wi-Fi, the pieces that make Wi-Fi in your house, companies that have been making those are now getting into smart plugs and bulbs. I kind of talked about that on the last episode. Whoops. Oh no. I can't wait to get a stand that clips to the desk, because then I'll quit hitting it with my chair. That'd be legit. Casa. Yeah, Casa is all my light bulbs. I have light bulbs in most of my house because I can't really do switches, and we'll talk about that on the next cast. Most of my stuff is light bulbs. I'd be able to untwist them all, move them all into the next house if I ever moved. And if I got all the bulbs into the right rooms and I kept my Wi-Fi the same when I moved, my Wi-Fi password, I probably wouldn't have to do anything, because like all my routines are already built and they're already programmed to those specific light bulbs. So if I moved and put those light bulbs in the same rooms at the next house, then they would already be programmed and I wouldn't ever have to do anything with them. So like that's kind of cool. What's the next app? iRobot. That's Roomba. Cleans up my floors. I know that totally sounds like a next level thing of life, because it is. If you have all hardwood floors or mostly hardwood floors, I can't speak for carpet because I have no carpet. So if anybody out there knows what carpet is like with a Roomba, you should come tell me about it. But mine is all hardwood floor all through my whole house, and I don't know. I just know what life was like before having a Roomba and what it is like now and what it's like here. I'm not going to say why it's better, except honestly, I really am. You don't realize how unnormal or how normal you've made it to have all this dust and dirt and stuff stuck to the bottom of your foot until there's a robot cleaning your hardwood floors every single day. Not every single day. It's Monday and Thursday, because every single day would be kind of intense. But the amount of, I have this one spot that the robot can't reach, and I know this totally sounds insane, but I pretty much left it to where it doesn't get swept, just to see, what it's, that's so funny. I just leave it there so I can see, what the floor would be like if I never swept the floors. I guess that I would sweep the floors with a broom. See, that's the funny part about living a different life with robots and stuff, is you just sit back and you're like, wow, well, I guess if I wasn't doing that, then I'd be spending more time with a broom, you know? So, yeah, now I'm just trying to sell you an iRobot. I'm not trying to do that. If you don't need a robot to sweep your floor, then don't buy one. But I have one because I wanted one, and I like it. So that's what the iRobot app is for. They make a mop too. I think okay, this is gonna sound funny. The guy with the robot that sweeps his floor. The mop is insane. You literally have to set it up and get the sprayer ready, and then get the little pad ready for it. It doesn't even roll up to the wall and change its diaper for you. You have to do it yourself. It's I can let my Roomba go for a week or two if the floor isn't too dirty. I'd let it go a week or two, and it just, it takes off from the station and then comes back and parks. I don't have to do anything crazy to it. But they make a mop. It's probably kind of cool, but I'm just hating on it because I don't have one. But what's the next one? My Q. It's for the garage. Ewe Link. We, as in we, us, and then Link. like the internet. eWe Link. That one is for it's basically a 120 volt Wi-Fi controlled switch that you can put in line of any 120 volt electrical line in your house. So if you have like a chandelier or something that's always on and there is no switch, you could get up in the ceiling, and if you know what you're doing with electricity, you'd be able to hook this thing up and control on and off. So, it's one of those things like that's like a DIY type of thing. What's the last one? Bolt IoT. That's something that I'll probably talk about later. That's like another DIY smart home thing where you can like build your own smart home product. So anyways, that's let me see if there's any more apps on here. I don't think so. Anything else would be like a social media or I don't know. Uber is almost like a smart home app because fun fact, I don't know where you are and if Uber is available, but fun fact, your Amazon hub can actually book your Uber ride for you. So you can be like, hey, Amazon, hey, Echo, I want to book me an Uber, whatever. I don't know if you can say that. I've never done it before. I just know that it's possible. And I don't know if you like say the location and then it sets up the whole ride for you, or if you're logged in and then it sends you a notification on your phone and then you have to do something. I don't know. So what other apps are there? That's totally like the most hardcore rabbit trail ever. I just went through all the smart home apps. So all of those apps connected to your devices, connected to the network of your devices, that is what makes your smart house smart. That's what makes your house smart. Like a Ring doorbell by itself delivered to your house. I mean, all that is a camera that you can see on your phone. I mean, it's a nice doorbell thing that mounts to your house, but like it's just an app on your phone until you get an Echo hub, or like an Echo Show. I have an Echo Show in my kitchen, and I'm like, hey Amazon, show me the front door, and it'll show me the front door. And then when there's motion on the front door, everything starts buzzing and going off. But yeah, the devices working together is what makes your house smart. So, like, the more devices that you add and the more control that you are able to, like, have, and then the more action items, like, what did I just say? The more control? No, you only have, like, one control unit. But, like, the more action items that you have, the more control you're going to have over stuff. Because that's more stuff connected to the internet that you're making part of your smart house. We're almost to the point where we're like going in circles, which is like you just need to have all these devices, and that's what makes your smart house smart. But that's what it comes down to. Is just a network of communication between all these things. That's what ultimately makes your house smart. And then, like, the only other variable after that is just the kind of stuff that you're doing to make it better for you. You know, like, what are you doing? What are you doing specifically with those apps that, make you feel almost smarter? Because you're waking up in the morning to a whole routine of stuff. Man, I just have to drink some water or something. I'm getting parched. This water is brought to you by the Wabash River. Yeah, that's what makes it smart, friends. That's what makes it smart, is you buying those devices, or however you acquire them, whatever, potato. Nah, I think that you really should buy them. I don't think that you should try to steal them. You should buy them. Unless you make them. You should invent them. If you invent smart home products, like, get at me. I want to talk to you and have never-ending conversations with you. But that's what makes it smart, friends. That's what makes it all cool. I'm looking forward to getting into smart house stuff some more. I think that we're like 40 minutes now, which is almost twice as long as what it was last time. I'm not trying to do that crazy stuff to people too much. Next thing we're going to talk about is the limitations of the smart home and the downsides of what goes on in the smart home once it's set up and some stuff like that. For example, my house is set up primarily for one person to show up. And it gets pretty weird when another person shows up and my house starts doing all sorts of weird stuff that's pretty much geared around just me. So, like one time I had my Ring doorbell programmed that when it saw motion, that it locked my front door. Because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll forget to lock my front door. And then if somebody walks up, maybe I just want to make sure that my door's locked. So What is that noise? Huh. Must be an airplane landing. I guess I'm close to the airport too. That's going to be fun. Yeah, I was having my Ring doorbell, the motion alert, lock my front door. So somebody else came over one day and what happened? They walked out to their car. So then as they walked by the doorbell out to their car, they shut the door behind them and it locked. And then they come back to the door and it's locked. It's like, they're thinking like, what the heck, man? Why did you lock me outside of your house? But it's the kind of stuff like that you have to, you don't want to get lost up in it. That's like when people say robots are going to kill people, that's what we're talking about. It's going to be the person accidentally programming the robot to do something insane, like completely on accident, hopefully. And then you're just going to be like, oh, dang it. Like, I didn't even think about that. So that's one of those things I didn't even think about. And I'm like, oh, well, I have to go in and edit that. I have to go in and be like, don't lock the front door when you see motion anymore. So I found different ways to get it locked and make sure that it's locked, whenever I need it locked and whatever. But I don't have that routine set up anymore because, like I said, that's kind of weird. So yeah, that's just one example. We're going to get into all sorts of stuff like that. Talk about limitations of products and certain things you won't be able to do with certain products, and it's going to be crazy. This whole world of smart house stuff, it's never ending. Like I can't even keep up with it while I'm talking about it, There's stuff dropping every day that's new. Especially around Christmas time. So, smart house ideas might be some pretty cool gift ideas. If that's the kind of thing that you're thinking about, that would be pretty cool to give the gift of smart home to someone. And then you got to say, you know what? I got this podcast you might want to listen to because he talks about it pretty much all the way through and through. Even stuff that you don't even think you care about. But yeah, thanks for listening so far. Thanks for making it to the end of the second podcast. I appreciate the time that people are taking out to listen and to invest in the time to learn about the smart house, because it's one of those things I think it's super cool that people are getting into, and I think that it's cool that people are interested in making life better with technology and stuff like that. So, what's going on? What's going on next? The next podcast, that one's coming out. What's number 4? Number 4 is going to be why should I have a smart house? And then number 5 will be what are the best smart home products, which I'll totally be linking everyone up in what they can go buy, because that's going to be the time you're going to learn all about the basics of getting into smart houses, and you're going to be like, wow, I just want to go buy some stuff now. I want to go buy stuff for my whole family. And then you're going to go check it out. You're going to get your stuff put together, and you're just going to be like, wow, this has changed my entire life. I didn't even know how much it was going to change my entire life. I wanted to hate it. I wanted to hate it totally. I don't want the robots to take over the world, but you're going to be like, man, it's kind of cool that when my alarm goes off in the morning that my light turns on too, and then the light in the bathroom turns on, and everything's just ready for me. I don't have to touch light switches anymore, you know? But yeah, just wait until we talk about the limitations and the downsides of everything. It'll be fun. We'll make it through. It's going to sound a little rough. It might demotivate you a little bit, but we'll make it through. So, thanks everyone. I'm going to get close to getting off of here. I'm going to go get some stuff done. I'm going to go have myself a wonderful day tomorrow traveling amidst the country, which will actually be the day that I'm posting this. So yeah, I'll be in a completely different state when I upload this. So yeah, thanks everyone. I appreciate the time that you've given me, and I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy it, subscribe and like and click all the things and go everywhere and paste links everywhere and share everything and tell all your friends and family about this and make this thing known so we can get some people out there with some cool smart home stuff going. If you have any cool ideas, send them to me on any way that you can reach me. There's plenty of ways. This is going to be available on Spotify, eventually Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and on automatedblogcast.com, and some cool stuff like that. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else I want to tell y'all, but I don't think that there is. Here, this is what it's going to be. Everyone have a good weekend. I'll see you next time at the beginning of next week when we release number 3. I'm looking forward to recording it this weekend, and I'm looking forward to posting it. And I hope that you're looking forward to listening to it. Thanks, everyone.